All right, y'all. Today we're gonna look at this boudoir photography business, see if they have BSS with their local or their city Google search here in Vacaville, California. And we're back here in the GVC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. And more about that, pinned video, pinned post, home video, wherever, somewhere around here. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So over on the left side here, well, we got FSIC, kind of a graph in white. Over on the left, the highest intent peeps search on Google, search on social media, social search for the highest, or for a boudoir photo shoot in their city right now. So we focus on those peeps. We make our videos about BSS. And wherever on the right, the lowest intent peeps, the only way to reach them is interruption ads via Facebook, Instagram. They ain't searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city right now, and most of them don't even know what boudoir is. So that's what we talk about over on our sister brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. Talk about BLCS, and over there right now, we currently only work with boudoir photographers spending more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. All right, so now into BSS, Boudoir Search Sameness. So this when a boudoir photographer has either zero or one slots on page 1 of Google. 0 slots is bad, that's a fast death, that means we're on page 2 or deeper, and we already know approximately 80% of Google searches never even hit page 2. They are one and done. So we're invisible to approximately 80% of the market if we're on page 2, which means we're going to be dying a fast death. One slot on page 1 is not good enough either, because there's 10 organic slots page 1. So it means there's could be 9 other boudoir photographers. Everyone else has one slot. So everyone else looks the same. Everyone else has one slot. Buyers simply approximately 80% of buyers. So we got to click down everyone. Every link on page 1. They're never even going to go to page 2 or anything deeper. But for the 10 that are there, they'll contact everyone, get quotes, price shop everyone, negotiate, stall, delay, blah blah blah. Just annoying way to run a business dealing with this. Now, 0 1 slots on page 1 Google is actually not normal. It's actually a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes, one, are market saturation, which basically everyone knows about. People get a new iPhone, new phones, new cameras, new gear. They're throwing up their Google My Business profile sending out for boudoir. They are, throwing up their website sending out for boudoir, competing with us page 1 on Google search, posting in mom groups now from boudoir. This basically lowers margins for everyone, lowers price for everyone, decreases the probability that anyone gets any buyers because it's more sellers, boudoir photographers for the same number of buyers. Makes it harder for every single seller. And there's a big blast of this COVID. Ton of new boudoir photographers entered the market because everyone lost their jobs, had to earn money. Everyone's got a smartphone, super powered camera, so pretty easy kind of to see why that happened. Now, second, actually the biggest thing, which I've seen is the #1 killer of boudoir photography businesses, is the false belief of page 1 equality. And the false belief of page 1 equality, it's kind of like the automatic belief boudoir photographers have had is that every boudoir photographer gets 0 1 slots page 1 on Google. So if your website ranks there, cool. And maybe you had it there, and somebody else came and ranked their website ranked higher on Google page 1, took you down to push you out to page 2, and boudoir photographers are like, well, yeah, I'm on page 2 now. I guess I gotta hope they delete their website and Google de-indexes them, so then hopefully Google can put me back on page 1. But no, this is 100% a false belief. It's 100% incorrect. And I know this because I myself went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days using our new methodology we developed. So I know Google will give us as many slots on page 1 as we want to put in the effort to acquire. 100%. I know that is true, which makes the false belief of page 1 equality false. Now, we also know that boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer. That's because, if we got 0 slots page 1 on Google, we're only on page 2 or deeper, we're invisible to approximately 80% of Google searches. Yeah, we're disappearing and fast. Same if we only got 1 slot on page 1, we're still basically invincible, being price shopped to death. We're getting contact form fill outs, but price shopped, people gotta, they gotta save up for it. We know they ain't never buying. And as a result, both these are kind of a signal. Well, BSS, it's the signal. It's what makes us a disappearing boudoir photographer. But BSS itself is the signal that, the check engine light, the warning light that we're a disappearing boudoir photographer, which means our business is on the path itself to disappearing. That's what that means. But we did finally discover a solution. We discovered it because we invented it. So we discovered that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And we invented this, and it works exactly as it says, S-cubed methodology. Social search saturation. We're saturating social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords in our city. So we show up there, it's kind of like the snow at the top of the Andes Mountains on the backside, the eastern side in South America. So what happens with that snow is it melts, goes into small streams, small rivers, and eventually across the whole mountain range. It all actually flows to the Amazon River, which is the Amazon River is Google page 1. But we got to get our snow up top the mountains first. That's our social search saturation. And so when we rank there, get enough ranking there, then eventually flow onto Google page 1. Now, one of the interesting things, this is the only solution I've seen for boudoir photographers that can successfully fight back against market saturation and allow a boudoir photographer to grow their business even with more boudoir photographers entering the market every single day in a relatively quick time frame. And the only other solution I've seen that has a few of these properties is to actually have a large, well-known brand. That would definitely persist with market saturation. But dude, that takes like 5 to 10 years. That's not relatively quick. We ain't got time anymore. AI's coming to take more people's jobs every single day. We got to get page 1 domination, page 1 visibility ASAP. And so actually an interesting thing is my estimate is I believe SQ methodology actually executing it increase the probability of having a large well-known brand by speeds it up by my estimate is 8x. So 8 times faster to achieve that. And imagine if you got a large well-known brand and you're using SQ methodology, I mean, you're basically untouchable at that point. Now, for example, if SQ methodology successfully grown a business in spite of more and more market saturation or massive market saturation, imagine, let's say there are 1 million boudoir photographers in Fargo, North Dakota. We're one of them. Everyone's got a boudoir photography website trying to rank page 1 on Google. You know, there's only 10 organic slots for 1 million boudoir photographers, so ultra competitive. And we don't have enough time to build a brand, so our only hope, our only solution is S-cubed methodology. And as a result, you know, we realize, hey, man, we got to crank this up to the max. So we do S-cubed methodology, we crank it up to the max. And let's say we're getting like we take over the first 300 slots of social search for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. Take up those slots, and when we, as a result, let's say it flows onto Google, and say we're taking the first 300 Google organic slots as well for high intent boudoir buyer search. And what actually happens is Google search is 10 organic slots per page. So dude, we're taking like the first 30 pages of Google. So let's say we do that, and guess what? Anytime any boudoir buyer in our city is searching on social networks or in Google, then what actually happens is we're basically the only one they see across all surfaces. You know, I mean, if they want to find us an organic search result, we're basically the first 300. They got to go page like 31 to basically see any of our competitors. And approximately 80% of Google searches never even hit page 2. They're page 1 only searches. Dude, who the heck's going to page 31? So you can see how powerful this is. So obviously in this situation, whose business is growing? Most likely ours. Whose business is stalling, dying, disappearing? You know, the 999,999 other boudoir photographers who are competing, but no searchers can find them. And so this is what the magic of SQ methodology can enable. Now, once you're with SQ methodology, we now have page 1 visibility. Get our initial benefit, more slots page 1 on Google. Get our second initial benefit is every new slot we get, we actually kick off a competing boudoir photographer off page 1, effectively making them invisible. Now, this is super awesome. A lot of boudoir photographers feel like this is actually their benefit they like the best. Making other boudoir photographers become disappearing boudoir photographers on page 2, maybe on page 3, you know, and eventually those competitors' businesses disappear. And page 1 visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So this is where the GBC universe recommends hitting 3 out of 10 page 1 slots on Google search. And that's because basically everyone else will be 1 out of 10 slots. So we're going to be dominating all of them, looking totally different from all the others, really catching buyers' eyes because they're seeing our name so much. And if the off rare chance someone else has 2 slots page 1 on Google, then we're still dominating them. And finally, we know that boudoir photographer with BSV, boudoir search visibility, is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. This is our micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. But we now have a solution. We can utilize S-cubed methodology. We achieve page 1 visibility. We become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, look at my results here utilizing S-cube methodology for myself. I want to rank for the term BLCS Boudoir and take as much page one slots as possible. So let's see the results I got by exclusively using S-cube methodology. Let's get organic slot 1 here, Instagram. That's me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. And as a result, found from 0 out of 10 slots, page 1 Google search, to 9 out of 10 slots, page 1 Google search in only 10 days, purely utilizing S-cubed methodology. So these are the results that I got. So now main event here, we're going to look at this boudoir photographer Vacaville, California. Might have to copy this, bring it over if I don't have the tab up. So we're going to see if this boudoir photography business has BSS for their local and city search. Actually, their local and city search is actually the same in this case. All right. There's a Vacaville. All right, so going at the organic. Nope. 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 There we go. We got one. And let's see. Nope. 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 All right, so we got 1 out of 10. So, in Vacaville, where is this place? Stockton. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's between San Fran and Sacramento. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 slots for Vacaville, California. So yes, we do have BSS, or this boudoir photography business does have BSS, boudoir search sameness, and we have not met the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page 1 slots on Google, and that's recommended because, dude, if we're 3 out of 10 local and 3 out of 10, 3 out of 10 local search, 3 out of 10 city search, page 1, we can basically guarantee we're not disappearing. We're either treading water or we're growing, most likely growing. That's why we want to hit 3 out of 10. All right, so if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, meaning you've gone to do the local search and the city search with the highest intent boudoir by your keywords, and you either got BSS for one of those searches or you're not reaching the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page 1 Google slots. So you know you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, which now you know. It's kind of the warning light, canary in the coal mine to eventually disappear in boudoir photography business. And you understand page 1 inequalities. The false belief page 1 inequality is exactly that, a false belief. And so you're kind of broken out of the mind cage. You're like, all right, we can take as many page 1 slots on Google as we want. So I've decided I'm going to put in the effort to do that. And so you're seeing S-cubed methodology is the exact solution you've been looking for. And you also understand, the market saturation is kind of natural as people get new gear, more boudoir photographer sellers competing for the same number of buyers. And as a result, you are you're liking the initial benefit of more page 1 slots on Google. You're definitely liking the second initial benefit of basically of more peeps being kicked off page 1 on Google. And as a result, you're liking those initial benefits, and then you actually are thinking ahead to some future benefits, which is, man, AI is going to be taking so many people's jobs, and that's actually going to be the largest bringer of boudoir photographers into the market, massively increasing the number of sellers. And you're like, all right, I actually got a third benefit. I need to basically fortify my position on Google page 1. I need to have so many links on page 1, Google can't even fit them there. And Google's like, hold my links in backup to be on page 1 because I got too many links that could and should be ranking on page 1 to prevent any of these AI forced people who are losing their jobs that become boudoir photographers to ever even get on page 1. Kind of like fortifying the levees in Nolens, Louisiana, because that city is below sea level. So you're seeing kind of future benefit. S-cube's methodology is the only thing I can give that benefit. And you're also seeing that The other future benefits, basically, as we do SQ methodology for more and more keywords, we're building out these invisible thematic keyword columns around our brand, around our business. And when we do that, it's kind of like, columns at the Parthenon in Athens, or like, think of like our business, our brand name as kind of the hub out on the internet, and then all these spokes, kind of like a bicycle wheel, going into the hub or coming out of the hub. It's basically building up AI mindshare for those thematic keywords, where it's looking at repetition, relevance, frequency, age, authority. How long we've been associated with these keywords, how many times, where we're ranking. And every day we successfully execute SQ methodology, we're actually increasing the probability of being recommended up here up top with the AI overview. And when we successfully rank for the AI overview, we are we're actually able, higher chance of getting this premium slot. Can't even pay for the slot with ads, this AI overview slot. And I believe it's only one person showing at a time here. And so that's a future benefit. Also, in the same breath, we're increasing the probability that we get recommended AI search, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. Increased probability AI search recommends us. And yeah, Google search is still approximately 90% of global search. But dude, AI search is growing literally every single day. And as a result, we are increasing the chance we get recommended there. Last time I used AI search to search for a boudoir photographer in a city was it gave me 3. This is ChatGPT. It gave me 3. Then I went kind of like manually search, on Google, Facebook, and it turns out there's like 60. So I'm like, man, we gotta find a way to get in these 3 slots in kind of like any way possible. And so you're liking that future benefit. You're also liking that my plan right now is to work with only one boudoir photographer per city. So you're seeing that since you decided to be a first mover and hop on this, you can actually prevent all your competitors from using this strategy. And because of that, you'll be able to get like massive momentum, page 1 slots kicking them off page 1, massive fortification momentum, massive back-end AI mindshare momentum with all these invisible thematic keywords being, basically plugged into your brand and growing that AI mindshare, increasing probability of AI search overview and AI search recommendation you showing up for, and basically building a gap so big none of your current competitors can catch it, nor any new entrants coming from AI taking people's jobs can catch it. And conversely, you're saying that if one of your competitors were, to start working with me and use this strategy first in your same city, then they would get all those benefits. We'd be building up a massive gap with them, with AI mindshare against you, kicking your links off page 1 of Google, and you would actually have to, then go and rederive SQ methodology for yourself, derive it the first time, then go execute it every single day correctly. And then once you do that, you would actually, if you equaled our output, you would literally be maintaining the gap with me and your competitor had already built against you. So you'd actually have to like double or triple our output in order to, basically in order to close the gap, kind of pull that AI mindshare from me and your competitor back over to you. But how's one gonna do 2 to 3x the effort when they aren't even 100% confident they've derived SQ methodology correctly in the first place? It's even worth investing all that time. So you've decided, screw it. I am missing this chance. I am missing this opportunity. I'm simply going to be the first mover and get rolling. So if that's you, shoot me a DM. My DMs are currently closed. The hospital is not currently accepting new patients. But when we do open the hospital for new patient intake, shoot us a DM, and we will see if you qualify to utilize our S-cubed methodology.